the top of my head, I have to say no, but I'm sure if I look back, there have been some crazy drafts, or not crazy, but a lot of trade scenarios with a player. It just proves how, I think, in the media anyway, in the outside media, Marcus Mariota has been underrated and not been paid enough attention to.
Tony, let's see how the Browns are involved in this. What kind of power do the Browns have, and are other teams trying to almost partner up with them so that they can get Mariota, or do the Browns, in fact, want him themselves?
Well, potentially they have a lot of power. You got to start from the beginning. I mean, this is all contingent on the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't take Marcus Mariota with the first pick of the draft, and that's a lot more. There's a lot more a possibility of that happening than people are talking about or writing about now. So the Bucs got to pass on Mariota and take Jameis Winston. That's not a definite. Then you got Tennessee there, and they got to be convinced that they're either going to go with Mettenberger or they're going to get a veteran quarterback in a trade or some other piece that's going to help them, which would precipitate them to trade down. If those two things happen, the Browns own a lot of power because they've got 2 first-round picks. They can move up and get Marcus Mariota for themselves, or they can start a bidding war with other teams who want to use them as a stepping stone to maneuver up and get Mariota. And right now the most prevalent ones are the ones I know that have been talking about the most and have been having conversations are your Philadelphia Eagles as well as the San Diego Chargers.
Tony, obviously the Eagles are going to be connected because of Kelly. How realistic is it that they can get him by themselves without a 3-team deal?
It'll be very hard because the asking price is going to be a lot. Tennessee's going to want a significant amount to make that big of a jump down. Depends on Tennessee needs some offensive line help, needs some pass rushers. Probably not going to get a good pass rusher all the way down where the Eagles are selecting not one of the top pass rushers anyway. You are going to have the potential to get a good offensive lineman, but not at the same sort of quality if you just move down with it where the Cleveland Browns are. So, I mean, what would have to happen is the Eagles would have to give up picks not only this year, but picks in the 2016 draft. I don't think they want to do that. Those types of trades usually don't work out for the team that's making the move up.
Tony, let's take a look at also the Chargers' role in this. There's been some speculation that the Chargers, Eagles, and Titans could do something here, or possibly Philadelphia, Cleveland, and the Titans. Do the Titans want to move out of that spot? And if they do they ultimately have the most power? They have the most power because they have that spot. But do they really want to make that pick, or do they want to get out of there?
I think it depends on what's offered to them. I had heard back at the Senior Bowl that they really like Zach Mettenberger, and they think that that's their guy moving forward. It's a matter of, do they want to stick with Mettenberger, maybe get a veteran quarterback and pass up a guy like Mariota, who could be a franchise signal caller moving forward, for a huge package of picks? There is some pressure in that organization for those guys, for the team to win this year on the coach and as well as on the general manager. He may feel, a trade where you're going to get a few veteran players may precipitate winning sooner, as opposed to, say, maybe taking a guy like Mariota himself and then hoping that he performs incredibly well as a rookie.
Tony Pauline's with us here. We're taking a look at the NFL draft, and obviously the Eagles there. How about the Chargers? Is this something that has been kind of put into their lap because of Phillip Rivers, or do they, in fact, really want to move Rivers and go and get younger at that position?
Well, I mean, Rivers has been around for a while. He's still a quality quarterback, but he has been around for a while, and this has been talked about for a while. The rumor obviously is if the team moves to San Diego, they're going to do so without Phillip Rivers, who's got 1 year left on his deal. So I think it's a combination of things. I'm not trying to be diplomatic or dodge the question. I think that they do want to get younger at the position, at the quarterback position, especially if they move to Los Angeles. And Phillip Rivers may be making it easier for them to try and make that move up to get younger.
Tony, Mariota here, in your opinion, is he worth the fuss that if Philadelphia, quote-unquote, mortgage their future, is he worth it to them?
No, because unless it's an Andrew Luck type of quarterback, you don't want to be mortgaging your future for any other player. I like Marcus Mariota. He's my number one quarterback in this year's draft. I think he's understated. He doesn't have the fiery personality of Jameis Winston. He's not the interesting off-the-field story, but what he is he's a very good quarterback with terrific physical skills. He gets it between the ears. He's a focused individual who's not distracted by much. A lot of times that doesn't, garner the headlines. I would not be giving away huge amounts of picks for Marcus Mariota or any other type of quarterback except for an Andrew Luck. But if you can get him for a decent price, I definitely would take the chance.
So how realistic at this stage is Philadelphia? Do you think this is just because of Chip Kelly? A lot of people say, well, this time of the year you hear everything as we ramp up to the end. Or is Philadelphia as realistic as any other team because they are so far out? I mean, they have a long way to go, and that's been a lot of people's hang-up. But are they very, very realistic?
I think it's a possibility. It depends on what your definition of realistic is. I think it's a definite possibility. I mean, do you really want to go into the season with Sam Bradford as your starting quarterback? Is he going to finish the season if he starts as your number one quarterback the weekend after Labor Day? I think, is it realistic? I think it's a definite possibility. They are talking about it, as are the Chargers. The Browns are also interested in moving up for Mariota. We'll just have to see how it plays out.
Tony, the draft is going to be a crazy day because of this Mariota situation. But what about Tampa? Are they interested in Mariota, or is it clear that Winston's their guy?
Well, no, as I said before, I mean, the scenario only works if Tampa Bay takes Winston and passes up on Mariota. But that's not a definite. People have already written in that Tampa Bay is going to take Winston over Mariota. As of yesterday, I heard, that is not a definite. And Tampa Bay likes Marcus Mariota much more than the press is leading on to or the press knows. So there is a definite possibility that, I don't want to call it a stunner or a shocker, but everyone's mock drafts gets exploded because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, on draft day say Marcus Mariota is our guy.
I think it's going to be a wild Thursday night, and right now, normally by this time, you almost have the picks figured out and almost signed. In the last couple of years, you had guys that have signed or had a contract negotiation up to this point. Do you anticipate that will be the case, or are we going to be waiting at the podium on Thursday night?
No, I think you're going to be waiting because, Tampa Bay is going to want to see if they can shop that first pick. If Tennessee can shop the number 2 pick and they're getting a boatload of selections, Tampa Bay may say, hey, listen, give us a little bit more and you can have the number 1 pick and you'll get to choose between Marcus Mariota or Jameis Winston. So I would be surprised if, any time before late Wednesday, there's an absolute decision made.
Tony Pauline, draftinsider.net. The Browns and the Eagles, is that the best opportunity because of the Browns? But the Browns, are they interested in Bradford because they made the offer before? Would they rather Bradford or Mariota?
I think, it depends on what's offered to them. It depends on what they can extract out of this. The Browns have a defense that's very good. They've got a defense that's ready to win. They've got an offensive line that's solid. They need some receivers, although they did sign some veteran receivers in free agency. I think they would like a veteran because it puts them that closer to winning. It may help Johnny Manziel if he's got any sort of future there in the city. I think that they would prefer some sort of veteran that can come in and step in right away and start, as opposed to developing Marcus Mariota for the future as that defense gets older, as the offensive line gets older, as those 2 receivers they saw in the free agency get older as well.
All right, Tony, the draft is going to be, I can't remember a time where there has been so much uncertainty, especially at the top. There's a lot of big names that aren't getting enough publicity, I guess, because of this quarterback situation, because there's not a clear crop of quarterbacks here. Tony Pauline, you can check out more on this NFL draft, draftinsider.net. And, of course, the draft is right here on 97.3. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks for having me.